Good morning, everybody. What's up? It's a little bit early today. A little bit earlier than usual today because I have a guest that I wanted to bring on today as we started thinking about the combine, and I think they start field drills tomorrow, and their time is of the essence. So I just said to hell with it. It's YouTube. I'm gonna go live whenever the hell I want. That's all that matters. And so here we are live. So make sure you hit the like button, hit subscribe to the channel if you have not done so. Because you subscribe to the channel, you get to know that, hey, guess what? Unc is coming on just a little bit early. So a couple of weeks ago, I went back into the time machine and I brought on a guy who I used to work with at Yahoo by the name of Eric Edholm. And you guys loved him and he did a fantastic job, just knocked it out the park. And I wanted to go back in the time machine. And I don't know if I romanticized this time because it was a short period of time. I don't know if I romanticized it as not, but there are good people, then there are great people. And the guy I'm about to bring on he's part of the great crowd for me, at least. And you guys know I don't really like a lot of people, but Frank Schwab, who works at Yahoo, I think is one of the great guys, and who not only I enjoyed working with, is also a great human being, and that's more important to me. I wanted to bring him on to talk about the scouting combine, talk about Quinn Ewers, anything Texas related, and just kind of gets his thoughts on the NFL. So without further ado, I don't know if he needs a hype man, but I'm definitely willing to do it. Frank Schwab from Yahoo, how you doing this morning, my friend?
Man, I'm gonna have to Venmo you some money after that intro. That was nice. I appreciate you. It was it was a great time. You, me, Eric at Yahoo. Loved it. Good friends. We had fun every day. Glad to see you're doing well over there, covering a very interesting Texas football team. You had some rough years, man. I can't lie. Can't lie. You
Yeah,
had some down years covering that Texas
yeah,
football team. It's
yes.
usually not fun covering a mediocre to bad team. Now you cover a good team. I'm glad you're thriving, my good friend. I always like talking to you, even though you somehow lost my number. I lost your number along the way. You thought I was ghosting you for weeks. Nope. Just change my number. That's all. That's all.
So first and foremost, I think the thing that we have to start with, Frank, is congratulations. You got engaged during the Christmas holiday, my
I
friend.
appreciate you. I
And
appreciate you, my man.
congratulations on that. With that, have we solidified a wedding date? Like, are we still working on it? Did you guys just run away and get married? Like, where are we?
That's pretty much what's going to happen. Yes, we did set a date for later this summer. It's going to be a small wedding and then a big reception next year. You could keep now that I got your number again. I could actually send you an invite, maybe.
It's going to be in Vegas, though, right? You are
That's it. I love Vegas. Yeah,
you are a
I'm heading
Vegas.
there. I'm headed. Like, this is weird. It just shows how old we are, Anwar. That
Uh,
I am heading to Vegas on Thursday, and why am I doing that? To celebrate my daughter's 21st birthday with her. She's been talking about this for years. I want you there in Vegas to celebrate. Yeah, there's been many days in the past few weeks my daughter's talking about this trip where I'm like, man, my daughter's gonna be 21. Oh my, I'm washed. I'm
wow.
washed, dude. That's it. I'm washed. I'm
Yeah.
cooked. I'm cooked.
So you're not gonna go during March Madness this year. You're gonna do some.
No, you kidding me? You kidding me? What? What? Of
Oh,
course not going to March Madness. Texas might not be there, but I will be. I'll be going to March Madness. Yeah, and yes, the smaller wedding we're gonna have is going to be in Vegas too. You've nailed it. You know all my trivia. You got me.
I got you. I got you.
I can't fool you, dude. Yep. There it is.
Congratulations, brother. So Frank, let me ask you this. Let me start big picture for a second, and I want to kind of work my way down. You've covered the NFL for a number of years, and there were at least a couple of times, or in the past decade or so, where Texas actually didn't even have anyone drafted. Right? There have been
Crazy,
those
right? Yeah.
crazy years though, where they didn't have anyone drafted. Last year, I mean, you saw the haul of guys that are drafted. This year, you see a ton of Texas guys that are going to be in the combine. I'm kind of curious whether it's guys you talk to or just your perspective. What do you think about the job that like Texas and basically Sarkisian has done of developing NFL talent? Because it seems like night and day from what it used to be, even 4 or
Yeah.
5 years ago.
And I think that this is where Texas should be. Texas should always be that team that has 2, 3 guys in the first round, as there will be this year. And the years that you're right, when you didn't hear any Texas guys getting their name called first day, second day, it's just that ain't Texas football. They should be able to step out of their offices and have 3 recruits, 5 stars waiting for them, right? Like that's just the way Texas football should be. I don't care what conference they're in. I don't care anything. That's Texas football. They should be able to get guys from there. And it's good to see them back to that and producing NFL talent. So I think that was just the blip. And now this is what Texas is doing. And they're developing guys too. I mean, some of the players they got coming through the pipeline, it's not just recruiting guys, it's making them better, becoming better football players. You've seen the fruits of good recruiting and good development. And I think they're back. Texas football's back. Not only just winning on Saturdays, but also the NFL draft, which is it's kind of the snowball effect. You know this, Anwar. Once you get more NFL talent, Sark and them could go and say, look, we had 3 guys drafted in the first round this year, 2 more in the second round, whatever it's going to end up being in April. And that helps you in recruiting, and that helps you get better players, and that helps you get more guys drafted. So I think now that they got that thing kind of rolling again, I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon.
So give me your thought here. There's going to be QB1, QB2. I don't know, on your board, is it Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders that you got as QB1 or QB2? And then once we get past that, where does a guy like Quinn Ewers kind of fit in? And how big of a week is this for him if he wants to be maybe in that QB3 conversation? There's other guys. Jalen Monroe is going to be obviously in that conversation. But I'm kind of curious, first of all, who's QB1 or QB2 for you? And then where does Quinn fit in, and what does he have to do this week?
It's a little bit hard for me because, I'm based in Colorado. So I've heard so much about Shedeur the past couple of years. I watched him and been to a Colorado game. And, it's been crazy to see the way that program is revitalized. I mean, the program was so dead on the local market. Nobody talked about them to being the team everybody was talking about because of Dion. I like Shedeur a lot. I like his toughness. I like his accuracy. But I believe Cam Ward is the number 1 quarterback in this class. I don't think either of these quarterbacks are great. I think they're good. I think they could be perfectly fine NFL starters for many years. Maybe have spike years where they're making a Pro Bowl. But I don't view Cam Ward as a future MVP. I don't view Shedeur Sanders as a future MVP. But I think they could be good starters. I have Ward 1. I have Shedeur 2, like everybody else. Although I think it's closer to maybe a lot of other people have. I do like Shedeur a lot and what he brings to the table. And then it kind of, as you talked about, it's like after that, it's there's a lot of desperation at quarterback around the NFL. A lot of teams need a quarterback. And there's just not a lot of guys who I would trust to start week 1. Or week 10, or maybe week 10 in 2026. There's just not a lot of dudes who you're like, yes, absolutely right there. Milroe, I think, is the guy for QB3. He has the physical traits. He's won a lot of games. He's had some production, but I think you touched on. I think this week is huge for guys. I think it's massive to see them throw, to get some kind of workout numbers on them, to measure them. That's always big. To interview them for quarterbacks, that's bigger than any other position. So I think we're going to see a lot of separation this week. Yours is interesting, and I think I'm interested more to ask you this, and I will at the end, how the torn oblique really affected him, because that's come out recently that he played all year with that. Tough injury for anybody in athletics, much less a quarterback. I just wonder, I think NFL teams are going to like some things out of Ewers. He had a lot of production in college, played for a good team, won a lot of games, all that kind of stuff. But what does he do that's special? And I don't think that he has the size you love at quarterback. I don't think he has that running ability. He's not dual threat like we've seen, guys now that the NFL teams really like. I just don't look at him and say, well, what does he do that's special? What does he do that really stands out? I don't think he's masterful at reading a defense yet. He still needs some development there. So that's why I see him kind of moving back. But I wonder, I think Ewers will be one of those mid-round guys you take a shot on, you hope to develop him over a couple of years, and maybe he's a starter in a few years at the high-end scenario. But I'll ask you, how much should NFL teams look at, hey, this kid played injured all year? It wasn't a serious injury. How much do you think that affected his play? And how much do you think NFL teams should look at that?
Well, the thing is, Frank, the challenge in the Ewers evaluation is that Ewers has been injured pretty much every year he's played football dating back to high school.
By the way,
so,
and that goes back to the size thing. When you're, what is he, 6'2", 210, something like that? Like
something like that. I think
I mean, that's teams look at
15.
that and they say, well, you're not the biggest dude. You're going to get beat up a lot in the NFL.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
But
that's why size matters.
They'll tell you that he was injured in that state championship game that he played against Kay Klubnik, and he had some ribs and some issues there. And then he's been injured just about every year. And so I look, you know as well as I know, the combine is all about the medicals, right? I mean, it's more so than anything else. It's about getting those doctors to look at you and see what's underneath the hood. I think that will be the interesting thing as relates to Quinn, is as the doctors examine him, what's underneath the hood. And then, the question really becomes to him, like, if you're going to invest whatever round it is, first round for sure, right? If you're going to go there, then can he survive, game 1 to game 17 or beyond? Like, I think that becomes the biggest thing, because every year he's been here, he's been hurt. I think that's the issue, more so than, him playing through injury. That's fine. But, in the NFL, it's, the athletic ability is one thing. The availability is the biggest thing. And I think that would be the biggest question as relates to Quinn. But then I have a question for you. You see the Rams and you see the thing that's going on with Stafford, and then basically saying, like, all right, well, you can see what else is out there. Should we be looking at the Rams as late in that process? And we'll see what happens with Stafford between now and the draft. But is that a possibility that the Rams may say to themselves, you know what, we may be on the QB market for somebody. QB3 might be there, QB4, something like that. Or do they have bigger needs? Because, I know Sean McVay and Steve Sarkisian are really good friends. But, that doesn't have anything to do with, draftability. I'm just curious your thoughts on the Rams and what they may have as a draft need.
Really interesting, because I sit there, Anwar, and I look and I say, who does a Stafford trade benefit? It doesn't really benefit the Rams because they don't have any backup plan. I don't think it really benefits Stafford, because what's he going to do? Go to the Giants? Really? Like, you're going to be 37 years old. You're going to start over with a bad team rather than be with Sean McVay, where you're really comfortable and playing well. And this is a team he should retire with. And how does it benefit the team like the Giants? Like, really? You're going to get a year out of Stafford, maybe 2? Like, you're not winning that division by any means. You're probably not finishing second in that division. So it's a weird thing for me. I don't think he ultimately gets traded, but I am interested to know, like you kind of touched on, what's their plan B if he does get traded? Is it overpaying Sam Darnold, or is it going into the draft and finding one of these guys? And I will say, look, they made a really surprising draft pick a few years ago. Didn't pan out, but it kind of goes to their thought process. They drafted Stetson Bennett, and pretty early, like a valuable pick on Stetson Bennett. And he was a guy who, like Quinn Ewers, like, you look at Stetson Bennett and you say, what physically stands out about him? And the answer is nothing. Like, the answer is really like, if you're looking at a guy at the combine or, coming off the bus, you're not saying, yes, that's my QB1. But I think that they value things like intangibles, winning, playing in big games, all that kind of stuff. So could the Rams, look at Quinn Ewers? I still don't believe that Ewers would ever be a first round pick, but maybe a second round, third round, and try to develop him. I could see that maybe, because they've taken the shot on Stetson Bennett, so I don't know that they're enamored with the guy who's going to be 6'5", 230, and Ewers does have the arm strength to make all the throws to Sean McVay's offense. So maybe they do draft a guy and try to develop him. But yes, the Rams are one of those teams in that bucket of, maybe you're looking at a quarterback if they move Stafford. I think it's crazy, but if they do move Stafford, all of a sudden the entire offseason narrative for them changes, and it opens up another team that would need a quarterback.
And just one of the last things on the quarterback thing, Shedeur basically comes out that he's not going to throw at the combine. Does that hurt or hurt him at all? And
nah.
Are there no
I don't think so. You cover the NFL too, obviously, and these old NFL guys, they like to complain, and they like to complain anonymously, and they like to complain a lot. And one of the things that they love to complain about is when a guy doesn't work out at the combine, because that puts them out. Like, now I gotta Now I got to go all the way to Boulder, Colorado for his pro day. And not that they wouldn't anyway, but like they like data points. They like putting guys through the exercises, through the motions at every single turn. Where we see, who didn't throw last year at the combine? Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and Drake May. They went 1, 2, 3 in the draft. Like, I just don't think it matters. Now, I will say this. That's different. Like Caleb, Drake May, Jaden, they were all superstar prospects. That wasn't going to affect our draft stock. When you're a guy like Shedeur and you're not guaranteed to be the QB, obviously not guaranteed, not even the favorite to be the QB1 right now, not even favored to be the second pick of the draft or anything like that. Like you could slide to 6, maybe lower than the Raiders. I think maybe it would help him to just go out there and say, yes, I want to compete. And then the old NFL guys could go, oh yeah, he's willing to do whatever we want. But I don't know ultimately that you draft a guy or don't draft a guy based on whether he throws at the combine or not. He's going to throw at his pro day. There's a lot of film on Shedeur Sanders that you can look at and see if he's got the arm strength and all that. So I think that stuff is overrated, but you're just going to see a ton of quotes this week. Again, old anonymous NFL guys talking about like, oh, it's terrible. He doesn't show his competitiveness, and then it won't matter on draft day to his draft stock. I don't believe it's pretty rare when something like that matters. It truly matters.
What do you think? What do you think Shedeur looks like when he's not coached by his dad? Like, and that's a version of him that we haven't really seen, and we don't know what that looks like. You think, and I know talent's talent, but we literally just don't know what it looks like when his dad is not coaching him.
Yeah, and I think it might help. I mean, look, you get a guy who I know Dion is not soft on his kids, right? Like he'll coach them hard. He coaches all of them hard, right? But maybe it's good to have a different voice. Who's been the voice for Shedeur Sanders his whole life? It's Deion Sanders, right? Like so, and rightfully so. He's a legend and all that kind of stuff. But maybe it's good to get him with Brian Daboll. Let's say he goes to the Giants at 3. To just a new voice, a new way of coaching you, new ideas. I think that could really help him. I do. I just think that the work ethic is there. I think that he wants to be great. I think you see it in his drive in many ways. I think you see it on the field, the toughness. Again, he's willing, to his detriment at some point, to hold the ball, stand in there, take a hit to deliver the throw. I think you see a lot of packages in Shedeur Sanders that he wants to be great. He really does want to be a great quarterback, just like his dad wanted to be a great corner. Like, you don't get to that level. Like, I love when people are like, oh, he just coasts on his talent. Like, no, you don't get to that level with just talent alone. You work really hard at it. I think Shedeur is that guy, and I think getting a different perspective, whether it's Stefanski or Daboll or whoever, Pete Carroll and whoever, Chip Kelly is offense coordinator, whoever's getting in Shedeur's ear next, I think it's going to actually help Shedeur, maybe even revitalize him a little bit of, oh, okay, now I'm getting coached a little bit different way, new ideas, and I think he's going to thrive in that environment.
When you go back into the time machine, John Ross goes to the combine.
Wow, you're going way back.
It blows the doors off from the 40 time, but it never really does much as far as an NFL receiver is concerned. Xavier Worthy blows the doors off, and it actually is incredibly productive in Kansas City. It really emerges into a standout. I mean, he was, for whatever Kansas City didn't look like in that Super Bowl, Xavier Worthy was arguably the best receiver on the field. Yeah. Did Xavier Worthy, from a rookie standpoint, kind of exceed your expectations for what he was able to accomplish, especially for how, his lack of weight? Again, John Ross does the one thing, we don't see it. Xavier Worthy is totally different.
Yeah, John Ross. Wow, I did not expect to hear John Ross's name pop up today. I give you credit for that one. That was a stunner. But Xavier Worthy is just a different player, and I think he said it like to my colleague Yahoo, Jory Epstein. She did a really long profile on Xavier before the draft, and he talked about, I'm more than just a speed guy. And he showed that late in the year. You asked like whether he exceeded my expectations. Yes and no. I thought early in the season you forget that Andy Reid's offense, very complicated. You go back a year to Rashee Rice. It took Rashee Rice until week 12, 13 before he really got cooking. Same exact thing happened to Xavier Worthy. We're all impatient, right? I thought, the way he looked in preseason, wow, Xavier Worthy is going to come out of the gates. He's going to be really good right away. And then he just wasn't. He was, in the first half of the season, he was here and there. He'd make plays, but it was never consistent. And then by the end of the year, the month of December, the playoffs, the Super Bowl, like you said, Super Bowl, he was the Chiefs' best player. Like he really was. Like if you're somehow voting on a Chiefs MVP in that game, it was Xavier Worthy. He was really good in that game. And I think that's what you're going to see out of him going forward. He got in the right spot with the right quarterback, with the right coach who knows how to take advantage of the skills he has, which first and foremost is his speed, but he's other things. He's a complete receiver. I think his NFL future is very, very bright. And so by the end of the season, he probably had exceeded my expectations as far as like, here's the product we have after Super Bowl Sunday. Okay, Xavier Worthy is here and he's going to shine, I think, for many, many years to come.
You know, Frank, well, there's a lot of people who may listen to this. They are Longhorn fans, and they're excited about that. They're also Cowboys fans. And then there
Oh,
is that other part.
ooh.
Well, they love Saturdays. Sundays are just not as fun for them. What do the Cowboys need in this upcoming draft? Or and what are some of the holes that you feel like this team needs to fill? Because it's rough for some of these guys, man. It's rough for my guys and ladies who follow the Cowboys.
Yeah, it's all of a sudden become a very top heavy team, right? Like this is,
Mhm.
and you always wonder, are they going to make the splash move with Genty in the first round running back? Not that that would even be a bad pick, but you look at this team and you say, boy, they need a receiver opposite of CeeDee Lamb. They need to figure out how to replace Zach Martin. They need to restock the defensive line. They need like there's just for a team that won 12 games each of the 3 years from 2021 to 2023, it's a roster that has a lot of work to do and a lot of
Mhm.
depth issues now. And the Cowboys are always, as much as we like to talk about, oh, they'd like to make the splash play, they also do like offensive linemen. Jerry's
Mhm.
really gotten into that mode of, hey, we're willing to invest in the offensive line. So I could see them doing that. There's a lot of good offensive linemen in this draft. I don't rule out Genty to the Cowboys
Mhm.
just because it would be a fit. Like it would be a very fun fit and take some pressure off Dak. But yes, there's a lot of work to do, and now they got to re-sign Micah Parsons. Like that's got to be their top priority, which means that's where the money's going in free agency. They're not going to be able to sign a ton of guys. It's tough. It is. They need this draft. They need to nail this draft. They need to find an offensive lineman or two. They need to probably find a productive receiver, which can be had in the second, third round of this draft. I think there's some good players in that second, third round area. They need to find a difference maker in the first round, where whatever position it is. A lot of work needs to be done in this draft by the Cowboys. They need one of those drafts where you come out of it a year from now, 2 years from now, when we're talking again, and you're like, wow, that Cowboys 2025 draft, they came out with 4 starters and 3 contributors out of that draft. That's the kind of draft they
Mhm.
need really right now to restock that depth they've lost.
I mean, everybody always points to Jerry. Is Jerry the problem, or is there something
Ah,
that's deeper than that?
I don't know. I think in some ways he is, but in some ways you got to give him credit too. He is the same guy who put together the roster from 21 to 23 that didn't get done in the playoffs. I get it. I get it, Cowboys
Mhm.
fans, but it's a very good football team. You don't win 12 games in the NFL by accident. So if
Mhm.
we're gonna sit here and dunk on Jerry now, I think we also have to give him credit for a lot of the picks that they made. Like they did nail a lot of draft picks. They did draft Micah Parsons. They did get guys like Trevon Diggs who weren't exactly obvious picks at the time. And so I don't know that necessarily he's the quote unquote problem, but he's not getting them over the hump either. And I thought this coaching search was really sloppy. Like, how do you justify, hey, we're just moving on from Mike McCarthy. We're not going to try hard enough to retain him, but we're going to replace him with his offense coordinator who didn't even call plays. Like, I
Mhm.
don't know how you pitch that as an upgrade. So there's
Yeah.
some things, Jerry, as he's getting older, that you look and you say, yeah, maybe he's making some mistakes. Like maybe this is the time for him to cede some of the control, which he's never going to do. And honestly, Anwar, I wouldn't either. If I was a billionaire many times over and
Yeah.
owned an NFL team, I'm like, screw it. Yeah, I'm going to be the general manager. I don't care what you say about me. I'm going to be like, I'm running it like my fantasy football team. Like, right? Like, I'd be that guy too.
Mhm.
So I don't know that Jerry's necessarily the problem right now, but I don't know that he has the answers either to get them over the hump.
What about the Texans? You know, and I have
Yeah.
two questions about them. You know, for clearly a little bit of a better team. What the hell's going on with their stadium issue over there? And
That stadium, I have you've been to that stadium, right?
yeah,
Obviously, Texas played there a few times too,
yes.
and, I think that's a great stadium. I love that. Every time I've gone to that stadium, I'm like, "They're a really, really nice stadium." So to hear that come
Mhm.
out, I was like, "Wait, where's this coming from?" Like, this they don't need a new stadium. Like, that's weird. I found that really, really weird.
Yeah, no, it is. It is odd. The stadium looks fine to me.
Like,
I mean, it's from a stadium standpoint, so that one's odd. But what about them as a team? Like, what do you think their offseason needs should be for those who are Texans fans?
Yeah, and all the offensive line, offensive line, offensive line. They got away with it 2 years ago. They're really banged up on the offensive line, and CJ Stroud was awesome anyway. And then last year, I think that they kind of got a little too comfortable with that, saying, "Well, our offensive line was really banged up and it was fine, so we're going to be better this year on the offensive line." And that offensive line fell apart. Like they did not
Mm-hmm.
help CJ Stroud at all. And I think that needs to be. It's one of those where you need to draft 3 offensive linemen in this draft and hope a couple of them stick. That's how bad their offensive line was at the end of last season. I don't think there's many other issues really. Like, could they use another receiver now that I believe Stephon Diggs will be moving on? Could you use a couple more interior defensive linemen? Could you use a safety? Yeah, maybe. Like, but their team is pretty well set up. Good at cornerback. They could use a guy across from Derek Stingley, maybe another linebacker. But really, those are picking nits. I think the only thing that is a really glaring need for the Texans is offensive line. If they could fix that issue, I think they could get CJ back to where he was his rookie year, and I think they could be a pretty good team. It's still a team that won a playoff game. Like this is a won their division, won a playoff game. They're on pretty good ground, but we all know, like Texans fans out there know, this wasn't the team everybody expected. Everybody thought the next step was going to be forward. They're going to be Super Bowl contenders. And in the second half of the season, they were not that. They were a pretty disappointing team in the second half. Rebounded in the playoffs a little bit. But yes, offensive line, offensive line, offensive line. Just keep drafting offensive linemen until you feel like you're full and you could actually fix that issue.
2 more, I'll let you out of here, Frank.
Yeah.
Uh, do they really want to get rid of the tush push? Like, Frank, what the hell? Like, are people really upset that the team has found a way to score points and they're like, we need to not? The Eagles are finding ways to score points and we don't like it. Like, Frank, what's going on, man?
Yeah. I mean, imagine a world where like CeeDee Lamb was like 92% on slant routes, right? And other teams were like, well, we need to make this illegal because we can't stop it. Like, what? This is ridiculous. Like, I would respect it if this was a player safety issue. Okay, maybe. Now you can't make the argument like sometimes every sport makes rules to make the game more watchable. And somebody brought up to me when I was doing a radio hit, isn't this like baseball banning the shift? And I was like, okay, that's actually a reasonable argument. Like there's times when you make defensive backs can't get away with all the pass interference stuff they used to 20 years ago, 40 years ago, whatever. Okay, but this is just NFL teams, as particularly the Packers, who look really, really soft right now. Just saying, we can't stop this. We need you to put in a rule to get rid of it because we can't stop it. Like, I get it's kind of anticlimactic. Like, oh yeah, I was at the Super Bowl, and once they ruled Jahan Dotson down at the 1 yard line when the score was 0-0, and it was 1st and goal to 1, everybody watching, including everybody at the Superdome, knew, okay, Tush Push is coming and they're going to score. Like, that's how good they are. But there's only one team running it at that level. The Eagles are the only team that's that automatic at it. So this is just, man, this is some sour grapes. What are you guys doing? You guys look soft. You guys toughen up a little bit. Figure out a way to stop it. If you can't stop it, oh well, you can't stop it. There's a lot of things you can't stop. You can't stop Derrick Henry on an off tackle play. I'm not going to sit there and tell you there's need to be legislation banning it for the game. Like, figure it out. Figure out a better way, or just live with it. Live the results. Complaining about it is never going to be a good look.
Frank, it would be like banning the refrigerator Perry from running it.
Like, oh, this is too much. Like, we can't stop. Lamar Jackson can't run anymore because we can't stop it. Like, what? What are we doing here? What are we doing?
It's hilarious. Okay, so last thing, Frank, and I'll let you go. Just back to a Texas perspective. Your thoughts as you watch from afar, just kind of your thoughts on where Texas is. And it's a big picture question, and this will be a fun one for you because this doesn't have to be in your backyard. When Saban retires, there's a mantle that someone needs to take. Who has it? Is it Kirby Smart? Is it Sark? Is it yet to be determined? Who is the next guy that we say year in, year out, they're winning championships or competing for championships?
Yeah, and I think Sark is up there. The way he's kind of, his career path obviously has been kind of crazy. The way he's kind of resurrected his career and his life in many ways. Like, hats off to him. Like, it's really an impressive story. Like, it really is. But I think and this stuff goes in cycles, and just winning a couple doesn't really mean you're the next Nick Saban. But Kirby's got to be that guy right now, right? Like, I know they didn't have the best season this past year, but you look at the talent they're just producing. Half the Eagles defense was Georgia guys. Like, it was like Georgia basically won a Super Bowl this year, right? Like, it's Georgia North over there. Though just the way they've gotten things going over there. I don't know that they're an automatic 11, 12 wins every year like Alabama was for that time under Saban, but the Kirby's as close as there is to that level right now. Now, it doesn't mean that that mantle can't be taken. If Sark goes out and wins a couple titles in a row, or even one title, I mean, you're going to look back and say, okay, this is a pretty good 3-year stretch with a title at the end of it. Maybe he's that dude. So I think that nobody's Saban. I think it's going to be a long time before we see something like that again. That was an impressive run. But I think Kirby's number one in line. I hate to say that, Texas fans, but Sark is up there. And you got a good coach, and you got a guy who's going to have you competing for titles pretty much every year from here on out. I really believe that. So yeah, it's just there's not the answer to your question. Honestly, who takes the mantle? It's nobody. I don't think anybody's next Nick Saban. I really don't. But I think the closest we have probably is Kirby. But again, that could change. If Kirby starts losing games, you know how it is down there. You know how it is in the SEC. There's no patience. There's none. Like, you miss the playoffs a couple of years in a row. All of a sudden, it's going to be like, okay, we got to find a new coach. Like, that's the way the SEC goes, man.
All right, Frank, I know you got to go, buddy. Thank you so much, man. It's good to see you. Congratulations as well.
And one of my favorite things, call me more often because I just like talking to you. I like chopping it up, man. I miss it. You're one of my favorite dudes. I love the success you're having down there covering that team. Thanks. Like, one of my guys, man. I appreciate you, man. I really do.
And don't forget Adam Lowy, who's one of your
my
guys.
Dude. Yeah, my dude. Adam Lowy Law Firm, man. I should cut a promo for him or something.
You would absolutely love it. All right, brother. Good. I know you got work. I know you got combine stuff to do. Thank you so much, Frank. Frank Schwab from Yahoo. Used to work with him. Fantastic guy, great guy. And yes, I had to get an early start today because Frank had some things to do, and I wanted to get him on the show. So if you joined late, I'm sorry, you got to go back and check it out. You got to hit the replay button. I'm sorry. And some people said they didn't get the notifications. I apologize. I don't know how that thing works. It's supposed to send you out notifications to let you know that that I started a little bit early, but just go back and check it out. And I appreciate everybody. And by the way, Stephanie, good morning to you. I got your note, and I appreciate you as well. All right, y'all. Sorry, you're gonna have just hit the rewind button. Just go back to the beginning, and then now you've got your next 30 minutes of your life to go about it. I'm gonna go do a walk, and I'm gonna go enjoy nature. Y'all take care. Remember, I always say, live each day like it was your last. One day it will be. I'll be back on time at 9 o'clock tomorrow. Don't worry about it. Unk's here.